Hey guys, today I'm going to talk a little bit about what kind of the experts do. I'm Daniel Norton, photographer here in New York. I'm on my porch now at the end of the day. Sorry this one's coming so late. I make videos like this about philosophy, about technique. But what happened, so again, sorry, I'm on my phone although I do have my smart life, because all my equipment is being currently used doing other stuff. As I mentioned, I'm doing video for Adorama for the new, I guess it's new, the Flashpoint 300 light that everybody wants to see. So I'm doing that video. So all my computer's crunching on that and everything. So I'm just going to upload this from my phone because I realize that it is getting late. So just, in the morning, I sometimes when I have my cup of coffee, I'll sit down and just watch random YouTube videos, usually not photography related, because I want to see what other people are doing. Because the craft of making YouTube videos is very interesting. It's a different thing than photography in general. But I started watching like camping and survival videos and bushcraft videos because I just thought that was really interesting. I don't know, one popped up, and that's what happens in YouTube, right? It's like you go down to it. But what I started to realize was that more and more as they got into it, there's definitely people who are very skilled at this stuff, and they're talking about it. And a lot of what they use is just like photography. The people that seem to kind of be established in doing it, they're using kind of expensive gear usually, right? But explaining why they're using it and why it's important and what they do, or sometimes cheap gear or whatever. But what I did notice was it just occurred to me, and this is why so I was watching a video, and one of the guys, he was like an ex-soldier, ex-marine, I guess. He like at one point and he did it as kind of a funny party, like he had pulled out an MRE. So people don't know, MRE is like the military was. I don't know if they still. When I was in the military, we had them MREs, and they're called meals ready to eat, and they're terrible. I mean, if you need to survive, they're great, I guess, because they're like this package like this big, and they've got like, I don't know, 6,000 calories in there. Like it's really, it's designed for survival, right? But he made this whole joke about like pulling it out, and he was like, oh, whatever, and then he made food. And it reminded me of this time I was doing something with National Geographic Explorer, and we were following this group called the Desert Survivors. Or Desert Explorers, maybe. I don't know, one of those two. This was years ago. And we basically were hiking through the Mojave Desert for, I think it was like 5 or 6 days, because they were trying to kind of create a path. Like they kind of, they had compasses or whatever, but they wanted to create a trail that people could hike on, because that's how, I guess, you don't think of these things, right? But I guess that's how hiking trails get created, like people make them. So we were following them. And what was super interesting was it was me and this photographer, and we, we went to like the outfitter store. We bought all the fancy freeze-dried this and special thing this and whatever, and we had all this like high-tech crap. And when we got out there, 99% of these people that were in this Desert Survivor group brought things like carrots and like couscous and like hummus and just stuff like regular food, but that not only was good for you, lasted fine for the few days that we were out there, gave you a lot of energy, didn't take up a lot of space, but also as you consumed it, it didn't make a lot of waste, which I thought was really interesting, because of course the MRA has so much trash and there's like chemicals, and you're like, it was so funny, because I was like, yeah, this is so much like, it just occurred to me, it's so much like what we do in photography sometimes. Like when you're first starting, you think you need like, these companies throw at you all these things. You need this to do this, you need this to do this, you need this to do this. But the reality is once you understand what you actually need, oftentimes the solution is much simpler. And if you look to experts, if you look at what people that actually do this for a living or do it professionally use, like really use, not people that pitch stuff for companies, not people that are bloggers or vloggers or whatever, people that actually work, like watch actual behind the scene videos, people that have credentials that have been published, that do actual work. You'll find what they use, although sometimes is, premium, is usually simple and it does the job, because that's really what's important, right? When you're doing something professionally or you want to do it at a higher level, you want your equipment to work and you want to do the thing that it's supposed to do. So you don't want to get bogged down with the latest, greatest, funky this, funky that. I talk about that a lot, but that's the reality of it. And sure, don't get me wrong, I love technology, I love gadgets, I love weird little things, it's awesome. But when it comes down to it, what you really have to understand is how light works. Classic example would be, I don't even know if they still make them, those Gary Fong, things that go on top of your camera. Everybody was buying them like crazy. All the wedding photographers were buying them. And the thing is that all Gary did, or Mr. Fong, I don't know him, I shouldn't call him by his first name, was he took something that he used something that was kind of common, it was common sense if you understand it. It was like, I need to diffuse my light and throw it everywhere, and how can I do that? And he made this thing, and he sold lots and lots and lots of them. And the reality is that it was really simple, and people starting out were buying them up because they didn't really understand. But anybody that understood what he was doing there could do something similar on their own. So I guess what I would say is that there's a lot of equipment that does the same thing, and it's just marketed as this, this is the silver bullet, this is whatever. And you see these companies come and go, and I say that a lot, right? Whenever there's like a company that everybody's like, this company, a few years later, it's like, yeah, that company didn't kill the ones that have been around. And that's because usually it's something that is just, advertised. It's like that when they used to have late night, these like infomercials that would come on with the latest knife or whatever, In the end, I mean, some of them were good products, but in the end, like really knowing what you need is what was going to matter. So like to a pro, what we want is something that is reliable, that does the job, and that we understand how it works, and it does the thing that it's supposed to do, right? I had a video, well, this ended up being longer than I thought. I had a video a while back where I was just talking about like Leathermans and stuff and how I keep them in my kit because they're super useful. And somebody, one of you people out there in the comments, who was like, oh, that's not a real tool, and blah, blah, I would never do that. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I would never say that you should have a Leatherman instead of a screwdriver, or instead of a pair of pliers, or instead of a, whatever, a knife. But in the case of a camera bag where you're not going to carry all that stuff practically, it's a good kind of compromise. But sure, right, using the right tools are what's going to actually allow you to do the job correctly. Like if I know that what my job is to screw or tighten Phillips head screws, the best thing I can do is get a Phillips head screwdriver. I mean, I could use a kitchen knife. I could use, a multi-tool. I could use any number of things to do it. But what's going to work the best is a Phillips head screwdriver. So this is the same thing of anything, right? What you want to do is figure out what it is, the task that you're trying to do. What is it that you're trying to do? And then what does that the best and the simplest and the most consistently? And that's the tool that you want. And that's usually what you're going to find the experts using. Yeah, you'll see me, I'm like I said, I like gadgets. You'll see me use a lot of weird stuff. But if you watch enough of my videos, you will see that some things used over and over and over again. And those are the tools that I depend on. Those are the ones that, if I had to build my kit from scratch, that I would rebuy. I mean, I have lots of stuff, and some stuff sits around for very specific purposes, but there's stuff that like does something very specific, and it does it well. And I think this came up the other day when I did the live stream where I used the dado light, and everybody, people were like, "Oh, it's expensive." That's always the thing, right? It's expensive. All right, well, everything's expensive. I don't know what to say about that, What I always say about that is when people come and they have super expensive cameras and they think lighting's expensive, I think to myself, you spend your money in the wrong spot because the lighting is so much more important. But anyways, yeah, you could cut a bunch of holes in a piece of cardboard and make a pattern. But that's not what a pro is going to do if they do that all the time. Because if you do it all the time, it's worth your while to invest in the piece of equipment that does that with skill, with ease, and does it perfectly every single time. So that's the difference, right? If you're not that person, then sure, put holes in things and actually do it even if you're a pro. Sometimes you want to build your own stuff because it's something specific. But don't say that's a waste, that's whatever, when it's something that experts and pros actually use. That's where I think where I generally get the like, okay. Like you have one softbox and you're going to tell me like that. Believe me, I would love to just have one softbox and do everything with it. But if you really want to be able to light, you need lots of tools. Lots of tools do different things. Every tool does a different thing. Like I said, you could have your Leatherman or you could have your box of tools. Having a whole box of Snap-on tools or whatever, Snap-on, that's pretty high-end brand, is going to be expensive. But if you're a mechanic, that's what you want, right? If you're just doing it for fun, get the stuff that works the best for you. I mean, there's no reason why you have to. Like I always say, and I'll end this like I always do, never make an excuse not to shoot. Look at me. All my equipment's being used right now. I am shooting this video anyways on a phone because that's all I got. And when you do what you got with what you got, that's what we always have to remember. Always shoot, always create, always keep moving forward. But at the same time, understand there is a reason why people use certain things. And when you're looking for advice as to what to buy, look to the people that do the thing you want to do. If you're looking to shoot food photography, look to see what food photographers are using. If you're doing headshots, look to see what headshot photographers are actually using. Not people that sell products and say they're headshot bot, but actually people that shoot headshots. See what they're doing, because that is the person that's working, and those are the tools that work for them. So anyways, if you haven't already, guys, go ahead and subscribe. I will post another video tomorrow. I'm working on the video on how I do the small editing system, which of course I'm not using right now. So I'll probably post that one tomorrow, and I'll see you tomorrow.